Was it the phantom? It was the evening on which Mesres, Debenin, and Polygyny, the managers of the opera, were given a last gala performance to mark their retirement. Suddenly, the dressing room of La Sorelli, one of the principal dancers, was invaded by half a dozen young ladies of the ballet who had come up from the stage after dancing Polykete. They rushed in amid great confusion, some giving vent to forced and unnatural laughter, others to cries of terror. Sorelli, who wished to be alone for a moment, to run through the speech which she was to make to the resigning members, looked around angrily at the mad and tumultuous crowd. It was little Gems, the girl with the tip-tilted nose, the forget-me-not eyes, the rose-red cheeks, and the lily-white neck and shoulders, who gave the explanation in a trembling voice. "It's the phantom. She locked the door." And she locked the door. Sorelli's dressing room was fitted with the official commonplace elegance, a pier glass, a sofa, a dressing table, and a cupboard or two provided the necessary furniture. On the walls hung a few engravings, relics of the mother who had known the glories of the old opera in the Rue Le Peltier. Portraits of Vestius, Gardel, Dupont, Bigottini, but the room seemed a place, a palace to the brats of the corps de ballet, who were lodged in common dressing rooms where they spent their time singing, quarreling, smacking the costumes, the customers, and hairdressers, and buying one another glasses of cassis, beer, or even rum until the call boy's bell rang. Sorelli was very superstitious. She shuddered when she heard little Gems speak of the phantom, called her a silly little fool, and next page. Can I hold it like this? Yeah. And then, as she was the first to believe in phantoms in general, and the opera phantom in particular, at once asked for details. "Have you seen him?" "As plainly as I see you now," said little Gems, whose legs were giving away beneath her, and she dropped with a moan into a chair. Thereupon little Girly, the girl, the eyes black as Lowell's, hair black as ink, and a swarthy complexion, and a poor little skin stretched over poor little bones, little Girly added, "If that received with interest and amazement. As soon as there were other people to say that they too had met a man dressed in dress clothes, with a death's head on its shoulders, sensible men who had wind of the story began by saying that Joseph Bouquet had been the victim of a joke played by one of his assistants. And then one after another there came a series of incidents so curious and so inexplicable, the very shrewdest people began to feel uneasy. For instance, a fireman is a brave fellow. He fears nothing, least of all fire. Well, the fireman in question, who had gone to make a round of inspection in the cellars, and who it seemed had ventured a little farther than usual, suddenly reappeared on stage, pale, scared, trembling, with his eyes starting out of his head, and particularly flipping the page oh so delicately. It feels like quite a new book, like nobody's really, like it's an old book that nobody's opened. You know what I mean? Did I read that yet? Ooh. Fainted in the arms of the proud mother of little James. And why? Because he had seen coming towards him at the level of his head, but without a body attached to it, a head of fire. As I said, a fireman is not afraid of fire. The fireman's name was Pampin. The corpse de Belay had flung into consideration. At first sight, this fiery head with no way corresponded with Joseph Bouquet's description of the phantom, but the young ladies soon persuaded themselves that the phantom had several heads yes, yes. Of course there is, cried that little dried plum of a Meg Gurley, heroically holding Sporelli back by her gauze skirt. Whatever you do, don't open the door. Oh Lord, don't open the door. But Sorelli, armed with a dagger that never left her, turned the key and drew back the door, while the ballet girls retreated to the inner dressing room, and Meg Gurley sighed. Mother, mother. Sorelli looked into the passage bravely. It was empty, a glass flame in its glass prison cast a red and suspicious light into the surrounding darkness without succeeding in dispelling it. And the dancer slammed the door again with a deep sigh. No, she said, there's no one there. Still, we saw him, Gemmis declared, returning with timid little steps to her place behind Sorelli. He must be somewhere prowling about. I shan't go back to dress. We had better all go down to the foyer together at once for the speech, and we will come up again together. And the child reverently touched the little coral finger ring, which she swore as a charm against bad luck, while Sorelli, stealthily with the tip of her pink right thumbnail, made a St. Andrew's cross on the wooden ring which adorned the fourth finger of her left hand. She said to the little ballet girls, "Come, children, pull yourselves together. I dare say no one has ever seen the Phantom." This is really fun. I rather enjoy this. Yes, yes, we saw him. We saw him just now, cried the girls. He had his death's head lowering her voice and looking all about her as though fearing lest other ears than those present might overhear. "And why is it your mother's opinion?" "Hush, your mother says the phantom doesn't like to be talked about." "And why does your mother say so?" Because nothing. The reticence suddenly